Hey guys, it's Bro You Whack, and some of you guys might know who Maximilien is, but for those that don't know, he is an accountant and council member of the Talon organization, and somebody who I think is gonna be the next hero in Overwatch 2. Now, while we're still a whole season and a half away from even getting our next hero, a lot of things point to Maximilien either being the next support hero, or just at the very least being a playable hero in the near future for Overwatch. Now, before I talk about Maximilien and why I think he's gonna be a playable hero, I do want to thank all the recent subscribers that have been coming in. Even though the news for Overwatch 2 PvE has been devastating, you supporting the channel means a lot to me. We're still going to be making tons of videos when Overwatch 2 PvE comes out in Season 6, but we're also going to be covering the bright future of Overwatch 2 PvP mode, especially when it comes to brand new heroes, but where Maximilien comes in not only relates to PvP, but also PvE. You see, a lot of people might not even know who Maximilien is, probably because a lot more people just started playing Overwatch 2 and they never got to experience the Archives event. But who Maximilien is one of the most fleshed out characters in the Overwatch universe that have yet to be made into a playable character. Now, for those that don't know who Maximilien is and what he even does, he is an Omnic within the Talon organization that has a really good sense of style because, man, he is looking fly. And after peeping out Maximilien for the first time, you might automatically assume that he's the CEO of the Talon organization. And while the Overwatch writers didn't clearly explain what he does within Talon, we can safely assume that he does control the money aspect in Talon, which basically makes him the closest to CEO, if not the CEO, because if you control the money, you control the power because you're able to buy the army weapons, which automatically gives you power and protection. But why Maximilien is the head accountant is because he's just so good with money and also money laundering, and because he also has a lot of businesses that he's able to funnel that money from and feed into the Talon army. We see one of the businesses with the brewery in Havana, and we also see him in his other forms of making money through the casino in Monaco, where we first see him with the Masquerade comic. Now, the Masquerade comic came out in 2017, where it focused on the Talon members, Doomfist, Widowmaker, and then later on the comic Reaper and Sombra. But this is also where we see our first glimpse with Maximilien, where he's seen talking with Doomfist and Widowmaker specifically about the organization. The org obviously being Talon. Now, this casino might seem familiar because this was later made into a playable map called Circuit Royale. And this is our first hint at Maximilien possibly being a playable hero, because very rarely do we ever get a map in Overwatch that has little to no ties to a playable character. I mean, you think of some popular examples like Junkertown, not only relates to Junkrat and Roadhog, but also the Junk Queen and also Hammond. And you also think of May, we Eco Point Antarctica. You think of King's Row with Widowmaker and Tracer. The list goes on and on of several Overwatch 1 maps and even Overwatch 2 maps like Toronto or Queen Street with Sojourn, and even recently with Shambali with Ramatra and Zenyatta. But it seems kind of odd that Circuit Royale is one of the few maps that have yet to have a playable hero tied in with the map. Now, to be fair, there are a few exceptions to this, like Rialto and even the Italian FFA map, where there's not a single Italian hero in Overwatch. At least not yet, but hey, we're not here to talk about a future Italian hero, we're here to talk about the flatboy Maximilien. But a map shouldn't be the only reason why I think Maximilien will be a playable hero. What else is going on? Well, we need to look at the lore aspect of Maximilien, because he pops up in numerous occasions, not only in the Masquerade comic, but most notably in the Storm Rising event. See, in the campaign mission, he's seen in the back of the limousine going through Havana, which was later made into a playable map, and then later on got chased by Tracer and a little bike. Now, this is somewhat unrelated, but could be related because we later see Tracer on her bike be made into a highlight intro that we'll later see in either this season or possibly next season, so just something to point out. But something also to point out about Tracer's bike is that we also see Sojourn on the screen. This is something I totally forgot about, but Sojourn was first seen well before Overwatch 2 was announced, but then later made into a playable hero, and we also see Maximilien in the same cutscene. Maybe also something to point towards Maximilien being the next hero. Then after Tracer chases down Maximilien on her bike, we then see the playable heroes in this campaign mission, Mercy, Winston, and Genji, and then you actually just play the mission. But this is where things get really spicy, because towards the end of the Storm Rising mission, specifically with the end cutscene, Genji is seen chasing down Maximilien. And before Genji slices and dices him, he says, whoa, 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 now, I can give you guys something. What do you want? And then Mercy says, in a very elegant way, we want an introduction. And then he says, to who? It then cuts to Temple of Anubis, where Doofus is seen with his formal tie looking all snazzy. He turns around because he's talking to somebody who's, oh, wait, that's Ramatra. Not only was Sorja first seen in this mission, but also Ramatra and possibly Maximilien. Now, the whole point of me bringing up these cutscenes is not just because, oh, it's coincidence that we saw these heroes. It's because this was the last story mission. Actually, the last campaign mission that we saw in the Overwatch 1 era, but I cheekily said story mission because story missions are supposed to come out in Season 6. A brand new support hero is supposed to come out in Season 6. So because the Storm Rising mission was the last playable PvE mission in Overwatch 1, and since story missions has to come out in Season 6 along with a brand new hero, well, what are they gonna do? Not pick up where they left off with Ramatra and Sojourn and Maximilien? Season 6 would be the perfect time to not only have a story mission involve Ramatra, an already released tank hero, but also a brand new hero that just so happened to release in the same season. And this is where I'm making the assumption that that hero, that support hero, is Maximilien. Now, based on that theory, you might say, okay, Burek, that makes sense, but Maximilien doesn't look like a support hero. And yes, that's probably the biggest flaw in this theory, but neither did Echo, when lots of people assumed that she was gonna be a support character just because she had feminine aspects to her. She turned out to be a great DPS hero. Same thing with Maximilien, and while yes, we already have a similar Omnic hero in the form of Zenyatta, I don't think that should really exclude Maximilien from being a support hero. Well, yes, he probably would make a better DPS hero. Gosh dang it, let me roll with one more theory that can try to solidify Maximilien possibly being the next hero released in Season 6, because this is probably one of the biggest reasons as to why. If I know one thing about Blizzard, is that they love to make money, but they also don't like to waste money. And the thing about developing heroes is that it takes a lot of resources and assets. They're just not here to just willingly throw it away. And when you're spending money on a voice actor and animation and character design, you don't want to let those assets go to waste. And well, we saw that with the Junker Queen, where a voice actor was hired, then later made into an actual playable hero. We saw that with Sojourn, another voice actor made into a playable hero. Ramatra, a cool design tank hero, then later made into a playable hero. But then we get to Maximilien, who has a voice actor, who has a character design, and even has animation, and yet he isn't a playable hero? Well, Blizzard can't just waste their voice actor assets and not make money off of him! You might think that's the dumbest reason why I think Maximilien is gonna be the next playable hero, but if I'm gonna be honest, that's probably the biggest indicator that he's at least gonna be a playable hero in the very near future, because Blizzard would not waste all that money and resources just to have a cool lore villain hero. While there's a few characters in the Overwatch universe that haven't been made into an Overwatch hero, you think of like the Mecha Squad and Magua, but those are just drawn characters. These aren't fully 3D animated voice actor characters like Maximilien, and that's why I think he's gonna be a playable hero, is because of all those reasons that I listed in this video, and also because he would be an awesome hero. Like, at the end of the day, Overwatch is trying to make really cool heroes, and Maximilien is the definition of that. Lots of people ask about his abilities and what he can provide within the game, and that could be its own separate video, because I feel like there's a lot of cool and unique exploration when it comes to how his hero kit could be. But first, I just want to introduce you to Maximilien, because he's one of the coolest characters within the Overwatch universe that is yet to be made into a playable character, and it's kind of a crime because of how much work has already gone into this character. But let me know what you think about Maximilien, if you think he could be a great cool hero, or maybe you just want an average looking boy that goes by the name of Overlord that you know little to nothing about, but because he looks cute, you want to be a playable character. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna go with Maximilien. But Overlord looks cute too, so make both of them playable characters, Blizzard. Anyway, guys, I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. More Overwatch 2 videos to come, and bye.